Today we're going to take a look at negative and positive space. We will be doing an exercise with a silhouette. That will be our shape and our positive space, and we will be putting it onto a blank document that will be our negative space, and we'll be moving it around to see how we can manipulate that negative and positive space. So first off, let's talk about what negative and positive space are. Okay, depending on if we're starting with a white piece of paper or a black piece of paper, different shapes that we see might be considered the negative or the positive space. But let's imagine that we started with a white piece of paper. Okay, so the empty space is this and this. If we think of that as the negative space, the shape that we see, the positive space, looks like some sort of vase. Okay, and the negative space has a shape too. The negative space looks like two profiles. Okay, there's the eyes, the nose, the mouth, the chin, and the neck. And the same thing in mirror image on the other side. Okay, so the negative space is the space around the object that you've drawn, and the positive space is the object that you've drawn. But it can be easily switched. And so these could be the positive space, and this could be the negative space. Now, in every design that you make, you will always have negative and positive space, but you will not always have a realistic readable shape. Sometimes they're just shapes, and we have to think about how those shapes balance each other out in the design. All right, so we're going to close this up. Okay, and for those of you who were not here the day that we selected a dynamic pose and we used the lasso tool to select it and color it in black to create our own silhouettes, I'm going to ask you to just go online and find a dynamic pose silhouette. Okay, so we'll look for an image search, and you want to avoid pictures that have a logo over them. It's going to make it harder to select. So look for the free poses. When I was looking before, I found some free yoga poses. So I'm going to take a look. But there are other poses like in here that this isn't so dynamic though. Something like this would be much better. Okay, we also want to try to find an image that's fairly large in size, as opposed to something that when we blow it up is just going to look very pixelated. Okay, so here we go. There's a free yoga pose. All right, so to get the biggest image, do not just drag the thumbnail onto your desktop. Okay, you want to go to the source, or at least go to this larger image. Okay, if I go to the source, all right, and I take a look at their poses, here's one that looks pretty good, and I click on it. That seems like it's the biggest. It says the current resolution is 2560 pixels by 1440 pixels. Okay, and so that's a nice size, so we can drag this onto our desktop. Okay, and we will close that up and close this up. All right, so next we're going to go, actually before we begin, we're going to make our new blank document that we're going to be working with. Okay, so we're going to go to New Project, and you are going to type in your first and last name, and we're going to type in N and P, negative and positive space, and we'll put 1. We're going to make sure, normally this is on pixels, we're going to change it to inches. And again, normally we'll have to change this. I had been practicing with it before, so it does have our numbers in it right now, but the width, you can either make a horizontal or a vertical, it's up to you. I'll start with a horizontal, so we're going to make the width 14 and the height 11. The DPI default, when you open it up, it will say 72. You will select that and make it 300 DPI. All right, and the background can be white. We're going to create that. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and open our pose, our dynamic silhouettes. Okay, and I've been working on a lot of different ones, so let's see. I think I'm going to pick that one. All right, so there we go. All right, before we drag it on, well, we're going to go ahead and go over here, and we are going to select. Now, it's this one I might be able to just drag on. Okay, it might just, yeah, this one is actually all ready to go. Okay, so I could just drag it on. Now, some of you might find poses though that are, or if you had started one, some of you started a pose and you were not able to save it as a JPEG. Okay, so I'm going to flatten this to kind of mimic what that would look like. Okay, so there we go. So if your pose is on a white background and it's flattened out, then you're going to have to select it. Okay, so if you get one off the internet and it's on a checkered background, you might be able to easily just bring it onto your new background. Okay, but if you need to, if it's flattened out, what you're going to do is you're going to select it. All right, so we're going to go to the Magic Wand tool, which is right here. It's the third one down. It's below the Object Selection tool. I'm sorry, it's the fourth one down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Click and hold. You're going to go down to the Magic Wand tool. Click on that. And then you have to double check the options. We want to make sure we're on a new option. So in Photopea, the new option, the new selection is called Replace. Make sure you're on that. With a silhouetted image, it's going to be super easy to select with the Magic Wand tool. The Magic Wand tool, what it does is it selects everything that's the same color as the pixel you click on. Okay, so if I click on the inside of the silhouetted figure, you can see right now, if I zoom in here, there is a very small dotted line around her. Okay, there are a lot of different ways we could handle this. I think we're going to just cut it and paste it. We could use masking, but I know some people in this class are just learning Photopea, so we're just going to go to Edit, and we're going to go to, we can copy it, and then we're going to go over to our other, here I'm going to delete the one I had before just so we don't get it confused. Okay, and I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm going to go to Paste. We have to allow it, there we go. Okay, so the same result is just dragging it in, okay, from the one that was on the blank background. All right, so now we have our figure. And the idea is I want you to arrange it in 5 different ways, okay, so that it looks good. Now generally when we have a pose and the figure is looking a certain way, it's a good idea to give the figure some looking room, all right, or some figure to move into the space. So since this figure is looking this way, we want to, a composition like this where we put her off to the side and then the space she moves into is over here. This makes for a much more awkward design because she's reaching out of the picture, and it kind of makes all this feel like dead space. Okay, so if you're going to leave her about this size, you can just kind of place her a little off the center like that, with space in front of her to move into, and that looks pretty nice. It's a nice placement within the white space. All right, but now let's play around with, the negative and positive space. So we're going to make her bigger and rotate her around. We're going to go to Edit, and we're going to go to Free Transform, which is right here. And remember, when we use the Free Transform tool, we have to hold the Shift key. Hold the Shift key on the keyboard down, and that way you can make the image bigger or smaller. Okay, so we can make her super big. And let's see, I'm going to actually use the magnifying tool to zoom out so I can see my bounding box a little bit better on the Free Transform tool. Hold the Shift key, and I'm going to make her larger. All right, so now when we play with the negative and positive space, okay, we're getting some interesting shapes in here. We have the empty space here. We've got, this really kind of nice shape here. There we go. That's pretty nice. So I can save this. I could as one of my designs. So I'm going to go to File, and we're just going to save these as JPEGs because these are exercises. We're going to try 5 different designs. Bring it up to 100%, push Save, drag it onto the desktop. Okay. All right. Now I had forgotten to save it before. Okay, so before I moved it, this is a perfectly fine design too, so I'm going to save this one as well. File, export it as JPEG, and I'm going to push Save. When I drag this one onto my desktop, it's got the same name. The computer is going to ask me if I want to keep both. I am going to keep both, and I can go back and rename it later to number 2. Okay, we'll just call it the same, name as the other one, but it will call it a copy. All right, now I'm going to go back to this one in the history. So in the history, I can go backwards and forwards. Okay, and I'm going to go to Edit Free Transform again. All right, and I'm going to hold the Shift key, make it even bigger. Okay. I'm enjoying, the shapes that are created by the white space, are pretty interesting here. So we can move it down like that. We can also rotate it. If I pull my cursor out, you'll get a double arrow. We can rotate this around. All right. If I do something like this, okay, when I push the check mark, it makes the transformation permanent. If I do something like this, I might want to rotate the image. So I'm going to go to Image, and I'm going to go to Transform and rotate 90 degrees that way. Okay. I'm going to make her a little smaller now. Edit, Free Transform. Ooh, that's kind of nice. Right, like. Okay, so I'm going to save this one. Now I have 3. Again, drag it onto the desktop, keep both. Okay, and I can rotate it around. So play around with that until you have 5 different, edits, 5 different compositions. Okay. Kind of like that, where she's touching edge there. All right, and then we just need one more. And let's see. Retransform. Okay. So we've been playing with the scale as well, the scale of the figure. We're creating different negative and positive shapes. The scale is the size of the figure, okay? And we're creating negative and positive shapes by our placement, okay? I'm going to save this one. Okay. All right. And then we are going to upload those to Photopea, and there is a channel that we're gonna, because this is just a quick exercise to help you understand how to use Photopea, moving shapes around, and also have you play around with the scale and negative and positive shape space. All right, so upload them to Teams. Let's see. Okay, we're going to go over here and give me some space. Okay, new conversation, and you can attach upload from computer, and here are my 5. Okay. All right. So that is the first part of the space assignment. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.